XRP News Script, Simple English Version. Lord Belgrave is back, and this time he's talking about BRICS countries and XRP. Lord Belgrave says he's a banker from London who knows secret stuff about Ripple meeting with banks and central banks. Let's check out what he's telling us today. He starts by saying, "Let me tell you something I saw with my own eyes. BRICS central banks have been working with XRP for many years. Here's what happened. I first learned about this in 2015. I was working on a project about money moving between Europe and Latin America. In one of the reports, they talked about Ripple being used in Brazil as tests for settling payments. The report was shared with Santander Brazil and people from Brazil's central bank." He then says, "In 2017, I went to a secret meeting in Basel. People from India's bank and South Africa's bank were there. Ripple gave a talk about how countries could use their system to move money around. They used fancy words, but it was clear they were talking about XRP. The India connection was the most obvious. In 2018, I saw a draft paper where Ripple Asia worked with SBI to connect XRP with India's payment system called UPI. One part really stuck with me. The settlement system will stay open for everyone to use, but we'll need identity checks like India's bank wants it. That's XRP with Know Your Customer rules added on. If you don't know, MOU means Memorandum of Understanding." He then says South Africa's case was even clearer. During a project called COCA in 2018 that tested digital money for big payments, I looked at the technical notes. Ripple wasn't listed publicly, but people connected to Ripple were involved. The document talked about final settlement and agreement systems, which is what XRP is known for. Russia and China had to be handled differently. Both couldn't be seen using American technology openly. Instead, they worked through clearing houses and groups. I remember a secret agreement from 2019 that said settlement corridors must work with any ledger and public documentation while making sure payments are final and follow ISO 20022 messaging rules. Anyone who knows XRP understands what that means. They focused on moving commodities. I saw test runs for turning oil into digital tokens. Remember Russia and Middle East countries. Oil is their main export. This is how they make lots of money. So if they could find ways to turn oil into tokens and move it cheaper and easier, they would make more money. He saw tests for oil tokens, gold settlement paths with South Africa and China, and carbon credits with Brazil and India. What have we known BRICS countries been doing the last few years? They've been buying huge amounts of gold like we haven't seen in decades. All testing used bridge asset corridors. XRP was the only system tested in all categories. You have to remember this was happening back in 2015 to 2018. What was the only solution back then? You didn't have Header back then. Stellar wasn't even running until around 2017, 2018 without having some of these partnerships. What was it? They weren't testing Bitcoin. They weren't testing Ethereum. You tell me, guys, right? You tell me. Let's keep going. He then says, "Meanwhile, Western news painted Ripple as being attacked by the SEC. Behind the scenes, BRICS central banks were already stress testing XRP as a neutral alternative to SWIFT. That's spicy," he continues and says, "The signs are there if you know where to look. Brazil's PIX payment system mentions compatible bridge assets in extra documents. India's bank reports on digital ledger technology copy XRP vocabulary almost word for word. South Africa's project, COCA, too used language identical to Ripple's secret agreement clauses about managing liquidity. Put this all together. Point 201. 5 Ripple pilots in Brazil. 2017 bank meetings with India and South Africa. 2018 India UPI extension drafts, Project COCA, and Ripple's advisors. 2019 Russia and China secret agreements, mentioning XRP like consensus. The timeline is too perfect to ignore. So what's really happening when BRICS announces their independent rails? It will not look like XRP, that it'll look like CBDCs, country systems, and BRICS branded platforms. But underneath, the corridors will likely work with XRP because they've been building on it for years. I will share controlled secret agreement excerpts I've seen with names blocked out so you can see the vocabulary for yourself. Words like identity-anchored corridors, neutral bridge assets, sovereign liquidity nodes. These aren't crypto buzzwords. They're banker documents. Now, just to be very clear, there's no way to confirm who Lord Belgrave actually is, but I do believe there are insiders like this. And you start to understand that these meetings have happened and what technology was available here. You know what? Let's just have a little bit of fun with this. What blockchain at these times is mainly, or that can mainly do settlement, clearing, and CBDCs. I'm just interested to see if maybe I'm missing something, right? Okay, so it could be Ethereum. Fair. Hyperledger Fabric, a permission system widely adopted for pilot settlement, core to IBM. But see, this stuff came out later though, right? This stuff came out later. Interesting. All right, fair enough. Let's keep going. I do have some other stuff here. This is from Unknown on Twitter. Unpopular opinion. The IMF, BS, DCC, SWIFT, Fed, BlackRock, the world's largest commercial banks such as Bank of America, JP Morgan are given a portion of the XRP currently held by Ripple that I have no proof, but no doubts either. It's clear that everyone will use XRP. I can give you some context here. Every month, Ripple unlocks 1 billion XRP from a locked account. It's time locked every month. This year, they've locked back 70% of that. There was 1 month where they locked back 67%, which was 670 million XRP back. Last year, it was mostly 80%. This year, it's 70%. So some of this XRP is going somewhere. Once they start moving from the current accounting system to digital systems, XRP will fly very high with no turning back. The runway is ready to take off. XRP the standard. And then I just posted some screenshots asking for a little bit more context that IT does say the post and your screenshots reflect highly speculative, but popular XRP community stories about major global financial institutions holding or planning to use XRP particularly through Ripple's locked account. While there's growing institutional interest in Ripple, current evidence shows this story is mostly based on guessing.so. Just to be very clear, these two posts are very big guessing. The specific claim that the IMF, the BS, the DTCC, SWIFT, Fed, BlackRock, and giant banks like Bank of America and JP Morgan got portions of Ripple's locked XRP is an opinion and remains unverified by trustworthy sources. This is where people say secret agreements come in. There's no way to verify. Leading asset managers such as BlackRock and banks, including JP Morgan, have shown interest in Ripple and attended or spoken at events. However, definitive proof. So, this is also something right. Who comes to Ripple swell? You often see people from Citi and BlackRock and all of these other major financial institutions you have the CEO of NASDAQ going this year as well. So, Ripple does have the connections. They're in these meetings, and you start to wonder what has been said, what has been done, and what has been signed. Institutional adoption. Over 350 institutions, including Santander, SBI, PNC, Standard Chartered have adopted XRP for cross-border payments through Ripple, benefiting from 70 to 90% lower costs. You are a bank moving billions $F per year. You can have a choice. The choices use Swift GPI and ISO messaging and pay an enormous fee. You might get that payment there within the hour. You might get that payment there within the day. 90% of payments get there within the hour or the day, but you still have the cost. Now, if you could get the payment there faster than an hour, maybe within a few minutes or maybe within a few seconds, depending on how quick or slow your bank system moves, right? The money moves instantly. We know that.